Hey everyone, my name is Jared Miller and I'm the ministry lead here at The Creek. The 1999 flick End of Days is pretty standard Schwarzenegger fare. It includes, among other things, a protagonist leaping from the chancel of a destroyed church in New York City on New Year's Eve and impaling himself selflessly on the angelic statue's sword with mere seconds to go on the clock before the ball drops in Times Square and the devil's plan of ushering in a new millennium is complete. I mean, all I can say is thank God the devil operates on Eastern Standard Time. I'm not going to sit here and tell you all the reasons that you need to watch End of Days because there's be a really short video. And I'm not really going to be here to explain how 90s action movies are theologically subversive or something like that. Maybe I'll save that for another video. But there's one scene in the movie that I want to show you that I think makes this movie worth watching all by itself.
You're in touch with your anger. I really like that. I don't know about you, but I'm gonna have a drink.
You and I are so much alike.
Nothing alike. Nothing.
Look at yourself. Look at this. Look at what you are now. You walked away from the light just like me. You want one?
You need to get out now. Come on.
You know what's in your heart. You're on the same side.
I'm not on your side. And I never will be.
What? You're on his side? He's the one who took away your family. Let me tell you something about him. He is the biggest underachiever of all time. He's just a good publicist, that's all. Something good happens, it's his will. Something bad happens, he moves in mysterious ways. You take that overblown press kit they call the Bible. You look for the answer in there. What did they tell you? Shit happens. Please. He treated you like garbage. You walked away. I'm not the bad guy.
The devil loves being in front of a camera. Since 1943, the devil has appeared in at least 60 mainstream released films, plus a library that spans TV networks and streaming platforms. And those are just the examples that I could find with a Google search. Generally, across all of these, it's the same story that's told them. Old Scratch needs to find some way to use a preordained or special human host to bring about an apocalyptic end time on the world around him. What gets me though is the point that Gabriel Byrne makes. Why is the devil's motivation so consistent while God is nowhere to be seen on film? Why is it that when God wants to accomplish some kind of divine end, he uses some everyday Joe, and when the devil needs to do something, he has to get his hands dirty? One of the key markings of living in a secular age, we're told, is that our world has become disenchanted. As the Age of Enlightenment gave birth to the idea of a buffered self, we have increasingly, as human beings, begun to see ourselves as distinct and removed from a world that mere centuries ago knew for certain that devils, demons, and evil spirits were all too happy to infest our head, our heart, and our hands with evil intent, if only we would give them the opportunity. I mean, this is the whole idea behind the celebration of North America's fastest growing holiday celebration. All Hallows Eve, or Halloween to the uninitiated, falls on the night before All Saints' Day in the church's calendar. And for medieval European Christians, the celebration of All Saints' Day and the celebration of all Christians who have ever died was such a holy affair that evil in any form could not bear to even show its face on that day. And so knowing that they were going to have a whole day off and I guess having to meet their quota, the spirits of the evil one, world, whatever, would be doubly active on All Hallows Eve, which prompted savvy Christians to think that they could hide themselves in plain sight by disguising themselves as demons, devils, ghosts, or, sexy superheroes. Today, we make jokes about this and we look at their superstition as nonsensical to the point where Halloween has become a word with or without the apostrophe. Our secular age sees itself as fundamentally and wholly distinct and divorced from a world of spirits, demons, or devils. which I think is part of what makes the devil such a compelling antagonist in film. Our social imaginary sees us living in a world where God has packed up his tent and moved out of the neighborhood. And it's therefore up to us to figure out if we can overcome the ultimate evil or not. But this isn't a film theory video, though. Actually, stay tuned for some of that next week. So here's my premise that I want to lay out for you tonight. In a secular age where movies serve a prophetic role, they actually help us see things through a visual medium that resonates with our culture as to whether it is true or not. And movies clearly seem to want us to believe in some kind of a personal evil. That evil is a malevolent, malicious force that actually physically exists and interacts with our world. And so what I want to offer you tonight are 3 reasons why I think a secular age should embrace personal evil. Number 1, the rise of deism. Since 2005, when Christian Smith and Melinda Lundqvist Denton published their book, Searching, deism has been inextricably intermingled with the term that they coined to describe what they saw as the predominant theological position of the 21st century, what they called moral therapeutic deism. But as a phenomenon, deism has been steadily growing in influence from the Enlightenment onward. Deism is basically the idea that God may or may not have at one time exerted influence on the measurable universe, but that in this present moment, this current epoch, God no longer plays a direct role in the cosmic order. God is, at the best of times, the moral authority upon which inalienable rights rest, or the philosophical first cause by which everything else is moved. Deism is a trajectory of belief, but it is one with a fundamental flaw. Deism is a philosophy built for an age of enlightenment that I think incorrectly assumes our propensity for good and our commitment to human progress and flourishing, and how it'll be the means by which paradise is ultimately restored. A personal evil forces us to grapple with the fundamental flaw of the Enlightenment, that not everything is knowable. Humanity does not exist on a never-ending course of progress, and ultimately, to suffer is to experience what it is to be alive. A personal evil invites us into that experience of suffering, of loss, of fear, and of sickness, and says that these are not ideas that can be dismissed or recontextualized, because a personal evil means that evil is something that must be encountered, it must be named, it must be stood toe-to-toe with, and it must be reconciled. Which ultimately brings us to the second reason why I think a secular age should embrace a personal evil. The Fall of Incarnation. Incarnation is the Christian dogma that says God became fully human in a kind of union of being. He remained divine, yet he was also fully human. And he did this for a specific purpose. Clement of Alexandria, the 2nd century theologian, put it this way: God became like us so that we could become like God. The central idea at the heart of incarnation is that it is what enables humanity to know God in a way that was previously impossible. In a secular age where God has stepped back from history, the challenge of incarnation again reveals itself. Evil in a bodily sense helps us to make sense of a God who is distant through a practice of what's known as negative theology. Negative theology is the practice that says that the only things you can really say about God is what God is not. It's the idea that if there are, say, 8 doors in front of you, and each is painted a different color, which command would give you the greatest liberty? To tell you to go through the red door, or to tell you to go through any door except the red door? Negative theology is based on the idea that because of the divine nature, Because God is a being greater than the greatest being which can be imagined, exclusionary practices actually give us the greatest picture of what God is like. And so instead of us saying God is love, which even the most ardent racist in the most ardent racist period of history would say and affirm in the positive, we would say that God is not racist, or God is not sexist, or God is not homophobic, or God is not nationalist. By identifying what God is not, our picture of what God is becomes expansive and inclusive. A personal evil is an opportunity to personify the things that God is not, and therefore to better understand who and what God is. Which leads us to number 3, the reflection of morality. Perhaps the heart of incarnation is the idea that there can be a redemption of what's known as the Imago Dei, God's divine image that was stamped onto humanity at the moment of our creation. With incarnation, God becomes somehow the fullness of what humanity's potential is. And that potential then invites humanity to experience every moment of it in our waking world. To see evil personified then is to see and grapple with the morality of what it is to be human, and to wrestle with the person that we see when we look in the mirror. That no longer should we simply assume that we are the hero of our story because we've been somehow called good, or we've been identified as being on God's side. In a secular age, we want to believe that God is something we've made in our image, and something that gives us confidence in who we are. But maybe we need the devil to help us do it. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think we need to reform what we think about the devil in a disenchanted world? Tell us about it, whatever it is that you think, in the comments down below. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button as well while you're here, and ring the bell to get notified of all of the content that we put out here at the Creek. Right now we're putting out content 3 days a week, and we would love to share it all with you. So also make sure you follow us on social media to stay on top of all of it, really. For now, take care of yourselves, and all the best. We'll talk to you soon. Bye.